the Urban Renewal Commission for Wednesday, August 20th, 2014. Roll call.
Commissioner Mengelberg?
Aye. Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Benville?
Here.
Commissioner Neely?
Here.
Commissioner Mom?
Here.
Commissioner Roth? And Chair Polly.
Here. Alrighty, are there any citizen comments? Hearing none, we'll move to adoption of the agenda. Is there any reason to not adopt?
No.
Okay. On to general business. 14-471, second grant extension request for 722 Main Street project. Staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this is a request, 60-day extension for let me back up. This is a request for a 60-day extension for 722 Main Street for the several grants that were awarded last June 2013 for 2 facade grants on 8th Street and Main Street, and then the adaptive reuse grant. This is actually the second request from the applicant. And the reasons for this request, he's been set back because of public utility services issues, and there was a need to rewire the entire building. Just kind of a misstep on the public utilities part. And then with all that great work that he's doing down there, it's taking a little longer than he initially expected, and so needs a little more time to complete that. They are working every day. I go by there, I see they're doing a lot of work, and I was just talking with Mr. Jansen here, and they're pretty close to finishing the inside. So I'm excited to hear about that. Told him I'm ready for the tour. So he said he was too.
Yeah.
That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Mr. Jansen, would you like to approach? And do you have any comments, or does anybody have any questions for him? Commissioner Benville?
Well, I have actually 2 questions. One is, I think the last time you were up here, I said, "Are you sure that you're going to be done in 60 days?"
I remember you saying
right,
that.
and I gave you that reprieve to maybe make it 90. Yeah. So I'm going to ask that question one more time because I am a contractor.
Yeah, right.
So are you going to be done then, or should we be considering this as a 90? Because I would sure hate to see you come up here again.
The interior issues, I think, are resolved. We did, as Eric mentioned, we did have a really significant setback with PGE. We rewired the building. We put all new electrical service in the building. And so every stick of wire in there is brand new, and ran a new 3-phase service over from, boarded underneath the street. And PGE, for the electricians in the room, delivered a high leg, and unbeknownst to anybody. So PGE is paying to completely rewire the building, which has set us back on the inside a little bit. But that work is now nearing completion. I think the electricians will have that done by probably Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and then at that point it should just be a function of trimming out light fixtures. So I'm optimistic that piece is now behind us. The only remaining item that is of any significance is now the exterior skin, and we got behind with that mostly because we didn't really feel comfortable with our molding detailing until we had all of the windows in. That was a bit of a task. The building isn't the straightest building around.
They never are.
And so it's a series of compromises and adjustments as you go through it. But all of those pieces are in. So our remaining tasks really are to complete all the moldings on the exterior of the building, the siding, the moldings, and then we have the metal trims that go around the lower level. Of all of that, the custom moldings and the metal trims concern me the most as it relates to timelines. And right now I'm projecting a 30 to 40 day horizon to completing all of that. So that's where we're at. But as far as the
Is the painting, all the painting done on the outside and?
Yeah, that would be part of the exterior, the painting.
Yeah, so,
Right.
yeah.
The
Your weather window is coming.
There are no more windows coming. All the windows
No,
and doors.
weather window, as in rain is coming.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So your exterior becomes more of a challenge, so.
Well, yes, yeah. If we don't, if we don't have it done by the end of September, I think that would be a big concern. So, but that's really our only focus at this point, because on the interior, fire sprinkler systems, we'll be having our final tests on Wednesday
cool.
of next week. As we discussed, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, all of those are pretty close to finaling at this point.
Okay. So my question to staff, though, is from this new staff report, you're talking about a new completion date of October 20th. And kind of the questions that I have to, or some of us have before, is that you've had several different grants at several different dates. And the 60-day extension, I thought, was 60 days from the June 19th, 60 days to July 17th, not just one deadline. Do you see what I mean? So I'm wondering, is this October 20th, and I didn't do the math, I apologize, but is it based on the July 17th date?
It's based on this meeting, approval at this meeting.
Based on this meeting?
Yes.
And it
Okay.
carries
The
for all
extension
grants.
for this meeting.
For all the grants? Okay, so, all right.
It doesn't preclude you to make a decision to make it retroactive. You can do whatever you want. It's just I set the date because that's when the approval extension would occur if you were to approve it tonight. So.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
it sounds like it's moving along. I know never fast enough, but Mayor Neely, you have a question?
And I assume the parking lot and the sidewalk at the back end is your project?
Yes.
It's nice to have a beginning of a sidewalk system on Railroad Avenue.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think we have the remainder of the concrete right now is scheduled to be poured tomorrow. So the patches along 8th Street will be complete, and the ADA ramp on Railroad will be complete tomorrow, barring any problems. So I think, on the site work front, gates on the trash enclosure is about it, I think.
Cool.
Those would be great improvements.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Okay, so I move to approve the second grant extension request for 722 Main Street project.
Second?
It's been moved and approved. Seconded. Thank you for
was
coming,
fixed.
and you've been great about coming every time and letting us know.
I feel
Where
bad
you're
about
at.
it, but I appreciate you guys.
It's an existing building.
Yeah. I have a
It's a good
question about
project,
the trim, the kind of figure 8 molding. Is that going to be wood, or what
Yes.
material will that be?
It'll be wood.
And that's what it originally was.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, that's a big
That'll look really
part of what
nice.
we're trying to...
I've been looking for that every time I drive by it.
Yeah, I'm going to wait till the very end, and then.
Okay.
But no, it's trying to get the moldings right.
Right.
And there isn't a lot of photos, so there's a lot of time sort of spent kind of looking at photos, trying to get things right, and then also just dealing with the out of plumb type issues that we're dealing with. But I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, great work.
All right, thanks,
And
guys.
we
Appreciate
we
it.
need to vote because it would.
Yes.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
So-
Commissioner Mum,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Neely,
Yeah, aye.
Commissioner Mengelberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Benville,
Aye.
and Chair Pauly.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 14-487, Amtrak Station Tenant Lease Agreement. Staff report.
Thank you. You'll be happy to know that permits have been pulled and work is underway for the train
Yay.
station.
Nice.
So they're doing the demo right now, and we're still on schedule to be completed by September 30th. But in preparation of that completion, as you know, we have a business tenant on the line for this who is ready to get in there, and so we've negotiated a lease with the terms of negotiation that the commission approved on a couple meetings ago. We've negotiated those items, and that's what you have before you tonight. We're ready to sign the lease and get him going. So the lease term would be 3 years with an option to renew. The rent structure in year one, there'd be no rent in the first 6 months, and these are the negotiated items, by the way. Utility payments only, $500 a month plus utility payments during the second 6 months of that first year. Year two would be $1,000 a month with utilities. Year three would be $1,500 a month with utilities. At the end of that term, there would be an option to renew at market rate, only if the tenant's in good standing, if he's made all his payments, plus a 3% increase every 3-year term thereafter. The tenant will not be leasing any of the property around the structure. That is Amtrak. That's an Amtrak platform. And the Urban Renewal Agency will continue to maintain the property around the structure. There will be no parking rights assigned to the tenant, so it'll be open to the public throughout the whole term. All tenant improvements are subject to the approval of the URC, and I do know that the tenant plans to bring in a proposal with additional tenant improvements to further accommodate his business. The tenant is to take the building as is once the public project is complete. The Urban Renewal Commission will need to confirm that the tenant's liability insurance is in place prior to occupancy. The URC will allow for a grace period for rent payment of up to 5 days. And the Urban Renewal Commission will require that the tenant provide annual financial statements each year. The tenant will provide access to Amtrak patrons at the north end of the structure's interior throughout his occupancy. And so if the Urban Renewal Commission approves the lease tonight, it will be effective the day after completion of the public project. So we will put that date into the contract. Any questions?
Thank you for your report. Are there any questions from the commission? Mayor Neely, are you up?
No, I think that we did withdraw my first thing there from
Okay.
before.
Renata?
Go ahead.
Yes, one of the things we had talked about earlier, or the tenant had offered in earlier discussions, was to provide visitor information. And so I was wondering if that was something that you decided deliberately not to put into the lease, or is that just an understanding?
It's an understanding, yeah. It's not something that we need to put into the lease. It's just
Okay.
moral commitment.
Thank you.
All right, good question. Commissioner Benville?
To kind of clarify, and I mentioned this the last time he was here, was the tenant will provide access to Amtrak patrons at the north end of the structure interior. And I think it's, I don't know, too much to assume that it's going to be open at the time that the train stops. I mean, there's sort of pretty early train stops there, and late train stops. And, you know, I've always looked at that train station place as a place to protect yourself from the rain and shelter and being warm. And I mean, is that assumed that it'll be open while people are waiting for the train?
Be
Or?
a section of it that will remain open. I think there's a group of volunteers that will kind of be there to help people, you know, show them how to enter and where to wait and so forth. He is, one of his tenant improvements that he has planned is to kind of section off at night after they close, to have like some sort of iron curtain or something that closes and locks, just so people don't walk through the business area. Just kind of keep that separate once they're closed. But
I'm just wondering if there should be something a little bit stronger in this lease agreement that has in regards to that, making sure that the actual building is available for the patrons of the Amtrak.
Well, that is in the sense that the tenant will provide access to Amtrak patrons at the north end. That's written in the lease.
North end of the structure's interior.
Yes.
So the structure doesn't include the platform. It's just the building
Structure.
itself.
Yeah, so we're
That's the
just
end
doing a
of the
lease
building,
on the
yeah,
building
that last.
itself. Yeah.
Is there any other discussion on this topic from the commission?
I did have a question. And is this north end of the building, does that also provide access to restroom facilities?
No, it does not.
Good question. William Gifford, would you like to approach and share your thoughts with us?
Madam Chair, members of the City Commission, or the Urban Renewal Commission. My name is William Gifford, and I live in Oregon City. I just had a few thoughts. I know that regarding the volunteer program, I know that Joyce Gifford is sort of assumed to be coordinating some sort of an effort, and I think that had been put on hold until the dust had settled on the agreement, and I know that she would like to get going organizing all of that. It's a big task, and she is trying to emulate the program that they have going on up at Olympia, where they have a waiting list of people that are a waiting list for volunteers. Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they've got like about 60 volunteers, and their
Can they
mantra-
come down here? Some of them.
They can get on the
Come on.
train.
They can take the train down.
The
We'll
train
get down here.
I think that's a great idea.
It's a big task to get that type of an organization where they have somebody, and their mantra is that no one will ever arrive on Amtrak in Olympia without a volunteer there to meet them, and I think that that's what we're hoping for here, which would be nice, and that would, of course, assume that there is some sort of access to the building during those train hours. But I don't think that it's reasonable to put that onus on the
Business.
business, the tenant there, that they would have to remain open 24/7. I think just to allow access is just to allow access to some sort of a shelter, as you said, Commissioner Benneville. But I don't think that they're planning on staying open 24/7, and that's reasonable. The other thing that I know that Joyce spoke to Mr. Underwood this morning about was the terminology of the word Amtrak. This is not an Amtrak station. Amtrak doesn't own it. You do. And I know that, if you don't mind my tipping some of that from your conversation this morning, that up in Olympia, the volunteers had an Amtrak logo on their name badges. Amtrak said, take it off. You're not Amtrak employees. You can't use the Amtrak logo. Matter of fact, they can't have the Amtrak logo on anything up in Olympia except on their kiosk where you can buy tickets, and on their screen which announces arrival times. Otherwise, you cannot use the word Amtrak. And Contrawise and Chehalis at their train depot, because it is owned by Amtrak, they can't allow volunteers there. Yeah, no volunteers because it's an Amtrak-owned facility and only Amtrak employees can work there. I thought that was significant. I did have a question about, and I haven't even heard this mentioned about, the Amtrak owns that platform. I don't know if we have any agreement with them regarding maintenance of that platform. I mean, it would be a shame to have the depot all spiffy and then have a ratty platform.
We maintain it.
We maintain the platform?
Yes. We maintain the property around the structure.
Okay. Those are the only comments that I had about it. I'm anxious to get this going. I think it's going to be a nice shot in the arm.
That being the
for
case, we
traffic.
ought to come up with an Oregon City logo that our
Yeah.
volunteers can. I mean,
We do have an Oregon City logo. We do have an Oregon City logo.
yeah,
and
I know
that's-
we do, and that something that they can wear in some fashion.
Exactly, but let's not let the Amtrak employees use it.
Yeah, that's right.
But do we need to officially name the building? Or just call it Oregon City Train Station?
That sounds good. Well, it sounds like there's definitely an intent to have the station manned and to have staffed. Even by volunteers, it's still staffed. And that's not specifically written in the lease that it is available for volunteers if there is that call for it.
So there may or may not be a volunteer organization in the future
Right.
during this 3 years. So we've put the onus on the tenant, whoever occupies the space, to leave it open for patrons of Amtrak. I'm sorry. Can I use Amtrak? Yes.
But we know it's the
we've written it in there that
intent.
access
Right.
needs to remain.
We're going to have to start
great.
bleeping our
Okay.
videos.
All right.
Yeah.
So it is written in there, the access.
Well, I
Okay,
think
good.
based on Mr. Gifford's comments and being educated there, thank you very much for that. And then I feel okay with how it's worded.
Okay.
That means you want to put
Is
forward a
there a
motion, doesn't it?
motion? Yes.
Move to approve 14-487 Amtrak Station tenant lease agreement.
Second.
Oh, it's working.
No.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, we're looking forward to that station being manned.
Yeah.
Staff.
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 Semantics, yes. Do I hear any future agenda items? Okay. Hearing
Oh,
Press to speak.
there you go.
Commissioner Mengelberg.
I think at the end of the construction season, it would be really nice to get before and after pictures of all of the great facade improvements that we've funded. I've been watching in awe
I agree.
at the Masons
I don't
building
know
and
how-
the
Yes,
color
indeed.
scheme, and so it's really starting to transform downtown, and it'd be nice to see a visual.
Oh, right on.
That would indeed.
Great
That's
idea.
That is a
Yeah.
great idea, and I think that the Main Street organization would like that as well.
Absolutely.
Going into their EID renewal, being able to have that to showcase.
Sounds good.
It's a great partnership between
Yeah.
Main Street and the
Yeah.
city.
You know, I should probably share a comment that was made by my son on Bring Your Kid to Work Day one day. He had no queuing whatsoever, and we were walking down Main Street and hadn't said a word for a while, and he was looking around and he said, "Dad, you know, this is what a downtown should look like."
Oh, nice.
He's like,
Kids
yeah, with
are
all
smart.
the trees and the nice
Kids
buildings.
are very
and
smart.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, I thought that was really cool. So.
Did he ask you a favor after that?
He did not. That was unusual. Yeah. That's what made it so unusual.
That's great. Are there any other future agenda items? Okay, city managers report.
So our Japanese delegation is here today. They took a tour of actually they've been here for a couple of days, and Commissioner Roth is not here tonight because she's entertaining some of our Japanese guests. She's one of our host families for this evening. And they were here this morning for a reception with the mayor and I, and Eric joined us as well, and Nancy Ide. And then afterward, Mr. Conkle took them on a tour of the Willamette Falls Legacy Site, which they survived. And we're just really pleased to have that relationship. 40 years, right? And we have the flag, their flag,
Yeah.
flying there behind us tonight. And also the mayor mentioned in his remarks to them how much we appreciated last year when Rob Lipke was shot. I was in Japan, and they lowered their flags to half-staff and gave us the flag
Yeah.
from their city hall. It was pretty impressive, and we brought that back and
Wow.
presented it to the department. So they have that as a gesture of their heartfelt condolences for our loss. So it's just great to have that relationship. And 40 years is one of the longer ones in the state of Oregon. So we're pretty proud of that one. Another city of firsts. That's all I have this evening on my report.
Are there any other reports?
Just a little bit of a follow-up. They took a tour of the mill site. Tony Conklin and team took them down there. We gave them the Oregon City pin, and we also then gave them the pin in honor of Officer Lipke. But we pointed out the 4 items on the pin, and that we were able to, as we were, I couldn't go on the tour with them, but I did walk to them to the mill site, and so we pointed out each of the items on the pin as we were going, the elevator, the bridge. They would have seen the falls at a later stage, and of course the other piece is a symbol of the industry that was there, and so they got to see the site. So they got a feeling for it, I think, and what that pin actually symbolized.
And Commissioner Roth and Eric both made a connection with one of their council presidents who's got a connection to a firm in Japan that builds laser equipment. And so they're at least investigating a possibility of coming to Oregon with one of their offices. So Eric's working on that as well, brushing up on his Japanese.
They expressed they want to come back for a visit.
So we'll work on that too. That's all we have.
That's great. And speaking of the Willamette Falls, the Old Blue Heron site, this commission took a tour of it. So Commissioner Benville, myself, Mayor Neely, and Tony led the, And we can't forget Rocky.
Right.
And thank you, Tony, for leading us
Yeah.
through that. That was part of the site that I had never seen before, underneath. And you could actually see the, pilings and the structure for the road above. And when you're walking on the road above, you have no idea that there's a big void underneath and that there's a whole nother kind of entity down there. So it's very
Opportunity.
interesting. Opportunity. So that was great. And I think we all enjoyed it, and thank you for that.
I want to make a comment. First of all, every tour I've gone, I've seen additional things that I
Yeah,
haven't seen before.
absolutely.
I expressed my absolute disappointment because you go underneath there and it feels spooky and so forth. I didn't see one bat, one rat. I didn't see any vermin at all. And it doesn't fit my image of what a place like that looks like that it actually should be. And then Tony says he doesn't see many either.
It's
So
very clean.
I'm worried
Very
maybe
clean.
there's some toxins down there we just don't know about.
Oh, geez, don't be spread that rumor.
I think the
Thoroughly
lamprey got
clean.
Absolutely. It was very educational. Had a great time.
All right. Well, thank you. All right. Hearing nothing.